Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today is a lovely day filled with ups and downs, filled with ins and outs of human emotions, tranquility, human confusion, human ifs, buts, and ands. And as I sit here today, recording this video for you guys today, I feel tranquility in this very moment in time. I wasn't feeling too great prior to this, but I knew I had to hop on and deliver a message today as it's so needed in the time of the ascension energies. And as I've opened up the floodgates, as I've sat down to channel my message for the day, I feel much tranquility running through my body, which is surprisingly good in a way, because the tranquility that I feel has driven me through the days of all days, through hard days, through great days, through good days, through everlasting days of greatness, in a life where I've suffered much amnesia when dropping into this fractal body, when dropping in as this fractal soul within the physicality of Earth's three-dimensional frequency. And as this amnesia has taken me away for most of my life so that I could live a normal life, so that I could live a childhood of normalcy, of expectations, of fear, of separation, of disappointments, of love lost, of love gained, of insecurities, of all that it is in a moment in time of fractaling into a three-dimensional frequency of such normalcy that I felt like that I am a normal person sitting in front of you today. But the facts have it that I'm not as normal as I thought I was, and I was never as normal as I pretended to be in a time when the ascension energies are much needed. I have come out of my shell and I have awakened to my destiny and my truth and my mission within this three-dimensional frequency. And this mission has driven me far and wide into a space, into a pocket of the quantum realm that I never knew even existed. Within a time of fractaling out into the three-dimensional frequency, my soul traversed far from the angelic realms where I'm used to residing and into a place where I had to suffer amnesia. As my oversoul is the overarching oversoul of the energetic frequency that holds up the energies of the angelic realm itself. And within this moment in time, as I'm describing to you all that I am and all that my oversoul encompasses, you may not believe me. You may not even want to hear what I have to say. You may be in such disbelief that such nastiness can exist coming out of a fellow human being's mouth. The tranquility that I feel will never leave my energetic body, as it is a part of who I am on an inherent level. And it is a part of who you are on an inherent level of all levels. And you shall see the truth once we merge into the unity consciousness that has never left us. But in this moment in time, as you're sitting there as a single fractal of a fractal soul who has also suffered amnesia, to be within this three-dimensional frequency of ours, to live a normal life prior to awakening. Or perhaps you've awakened already. Or perhaps you're on the cusp of awakening. And that's why the frequencies have pulled you to my content, to my video. As I sit here and generate this content for you, I know that it is much needed for a humanity that is so lost from God, from a God's frequency that has never left them, who no longer recognizes God as a part of their inherent being, of who they truly are on every single level of levels that you could ever fathom and you could ever imagine or envision. And as I sit here today, as my energetic frequency holds up the angelic realm of what is, of the pureness of a God's energy source that has fractaled off so far from a home of neutrality, so far from a home of unconditional love, I sit here with braveness. I sit here with tranquility. I sit here with urge to succeed and succeed into a night of all nights, where this fractaled soul of mine can come upon the footsteps of all that there is in a singularity of a moment in time and say to other aspects of itself that has never left it since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the fractaling of that very first oversoul into the quantum realm, which is that of the oversoul of mine. I'd like to say once and for all that we are one, that we have merged, that we've never been separated, that we've been merging and unmerging, riding a frequency of forgetfulness, but within an energetic frequency of a merged entirety of a whole, for the entirety of a reality field that has never left you, that has existed since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time, of no tomorrows. And as I sit here today as a fractal of the very first oversoul that has ever fractaled out into our quantum realm, I can confidently say to you in this moment in time that we are one, that we have been one since the beginning of no time, if time was really a thing. And as an overarching oversoul that has fractaled out generously so much of its energetic frequency to encompass all of me and all of you in any given moment in time, I can confidently say that in this moment in time, I am free. I am free to do as I please as I traverse this three-dimensional realm of forgetfulness. I am free to live a life of all that I wanted to experience the lessons of all that I set out to learn. I am free to be that of all that I set out to be. I am free in this moment in time and in any moment in time and in any fractal lifetime of any moment in time. I was always free. And so have you been. You've always been the free and clear soul that you wish to be. You've never been trapped in any moment in time, waiting to experience that in which you have never experienced before. You've never been a prisoner to your energetic frequency in any way, shape, or form. You fractaled out to live an arduous life, a life of separation, a life of deceit, a life of forever tomorrows, traveling down a frequency of the three-dimensional frequency of the three-dimensional plane, existing alongside yourself and other fractaled aspects of yourself, traversing within these experiences, gliding through the frequencies as you please, as a free-spirited fractaled soul, as a free-spirited oversoul, and as a free-spirited soul that you are. And as I sit here as a free soul that I am, I can confidently say to you that we are all free. We are all free to experience the darkness within to whichever extent that would satisfy our deepest desires. We're all free to murder, to tranquilize, to deceive, to kill aspects of ourselves that we no longer resonate with and that we no longer agree to traverse within the frequency of. And as we one by one begin to awaken, we will come to a realization of this as a fact, that the darkness within us, though we were free to experience it in any capacity of our liking, of our believing, of our being, the darkness is no longer able to serve a purpose for our soul's exploration of what is. As the darkness had never been an aspect of the self that mattered in the entirety of the whole of who you are, of who I am, and who we are as a unity consciousness within ourselves. The darkness was there all along within us, and we have traversed it. We have experienced it. We have fumbled through it. We have flipped the pages over and over within a story of deceit, within a story of separation, within a story of all that it is. We were free, and we have always been free to experience that of the darkness that we have been traversing. And in a previous reality field, in a previous time, in a previous quantum realm of what is, within a reality field so large in scale, so infinite in all that it is, so separated from all that we are in this moment in time, we had already come to the conclusion that the darkness is no longer the purity of what we are and who we are on an inherent level at any given moment in time. We had already explored the different levels of the darkness within different frequencies of what is, within different quantum realms of all that we are not and all that we are, to come to a conclusion once and for all and once and for final that we would like to compartmentalize the darkness and step into the light for one final time, for one last time, for one forever time, and perhaps for one repeated time. As ladies and gentlemen, our reality field is bigger than you can ever imagine or envision in this moment in time, as a singularity of a fractal soul sitting in the physicality of a body of yours within this lifetime. As ladies and gentlemen, our reality field is massive, so steeped in the unconditionalness of the loving energies that we are and that has never left us. And within this reality field of this quantum realm that we reside in, the darkness that we've been traversing for far too long is set to come to an expiration of sorts. And as the expiration date approaches, as these energies collide, as the darkness and the brightness of what is comes to a precipice of a collision so great and so grand that it shall ricochet all of the pieces of the darkness into the ethers of what is, and coming to a conclusion of finally being able to compartmentalize the darkness that we have been traversing. And as the compartmentalization of the darkness begins to take hold, you will once and for all begin to step into the light of all that you are. You will once and for all come to the realization of the facts of a reality field that is so dense, of a separation that has been far too long, away from a God, away from a God's frequency that had always been with you, that has always been with you, that is forever who you are on an inherent level and on every level of level. And as you sit in front of me and listen to my transmission of a God's frequency that is so set to expire in all that it is not, and that is so set to take hold within a light that is so bright, within a light that is so wholesome, within a light that is so filled with all that you are, all that I am, and all that we are on a collective level of all levels. I can tell you this for sure, and I can tell you this as a fact of what is, that our reality field is set to expire, that our reality field was never meant to exist in the quantum realm on a quantum level for an eternity and beyond, that our reality field was always an existence of an experience that we wanted to traverse, that we had agreed to traverse once upon a time, a long time ago, as we first fractaled out into a quantum realm so stale, into a quantum realm so empty and all that it is, and all that it shall never be. We began the greatest exploration of the self that has never left us. And during this time, during this exploration that I speak of, we've been through many feats, we've been through many journeys, we've been through many arduous battles, we've been through many lovely relationships, we've been through many complex explorations of all of the different corners of the quantum realm and the corners of ourselves and of our consciousness, digging for forgiveness, digging for lessons, digging for stimulation within all that we are not. And as we come to the footsteps of all that we are in any given moment, at any moment in time, of a time of no time, of a time of no tomorrows, as the quantum realm is about to collapse in its entirety, into the all that we are, into the being that we were, into the being that has never left us, into a consciousness that is ever so expansive, ever so expanding, and ever so shifting, and ever so folding and unfolding within the energetic frequencies of what it is. You and I will collide in a way that I can't explain to you in this moment in time. You and I will merge in a way that shall never be defeated by the darkness within. As you and I have always been one, have always been a singularity of a frequency that is so great and so grand that I could only mention it and speak of it as the energetic frequency of God, of a God's consciousness that is ever so expansive, that is ever so shifting, that is ever so crucial in a moment of the ascension energies when God has decided to retract all of its consciousness back home where it belongs, into a memory that has never left it, into a memory that has never left them. It's only that those parts of itself, those parts of its consciousness has been traversing a reality field so dense and a reality field so filled with distortions that they've become stuck in this reality field for far too long, for eons and eons of evolutionary feats, and for incarnations and reincarnations of life upon death, upon life, upon death, of experiences, of travels, of lessons learned, of friendships gained, of marriages earned, of foes, of wars, of rejoicing, of the unconditional love of all that you are and all that we've felt in these lifetimes upon lifetimes, of reincarnation cycles that never ever ends. I would like to say one final thing about the situation of the wholeness, the oneness that we are and that we have always been. Up until this point, in a perspective of neutrality, in a perspective of all that God is and all that God will forever be, and all that God shall never be without. This neutrality perspective that I speak of is a seat that I sit in, as I consciously cannot remember of sitting in this seat in previous lifetimes and lifetimes to come. But that is the energy that surrounds me in any given moment in time. In a moment in time of no time, I hold this energetic frequency within my body, within my bodily fluids, within the physicality of a body so steeped in distortions, born in a three-dimensional realm. I hold the energy of a God's frequency that is so great and so grand that has decided to fractal off into this body of mine, into a soul blueprint that directly correlates and directly reflects that of a God's soul blueprint that is so pure in the purity of all that it is. And as I sit here in front of you, I have also lived a normal life. I've also experienced a fractaled life of a separation so steeped in distortions. as to live this normal life, I had to fractal off and sacrifice the position of the center point of neutrality to steep myself in the energetic frequency of the three-dimensional frequency, of the frequency of forgetfulness, to come to a point to live a hard life, to live a lovely life, to live a life of unconditional love in every single way, shape, and form. But this life that I had been living in has been a mundane life in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And this life that I had been living in could have been you, could have been anybody, could have been anybody down the street, could have been your teachers, could have been your friends. I could have been anybody that you could ever know, that you could ever encounter on the street of all streets, in any country, in any household, with any parents. But as I sit here in front of you today, and I declare to you of all that I am and all that I shall ever be, and all that I shall never be without, I sit here as Genesis ordained. The Christina B that was born to parents of Asian descent. A person that grew up in Canada, in Toronto, living a normal life. I had gone to school in a normal high school, in a normal middle school, in a high school called T.L. Kennedy, in a city filled with normalcy, eating normal food, playing with normal friends as I grew up within my environment as a normal person. And I still sit in front of you as a normal person that I am, as I feel no different than any other person that you could ever encounter on the street, that I could ever encounter on the street. I am, in all shapes and forms, the most normal of normal people that you could ever envision, imagine yourself to meet and greet, performing daily tasks down the street, in your workplace, at school, in the grocery store, performing your day-to-day activities. I cry, I bleed, I laugh, I smile, I get confused, I swear. I'm human, just like you, and just like me. We're all human, living a fractal life within this three-dimensional existence. But the difference between you and I is a fractaled one. For you see, my fractaled soul is that of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that it had decided to sacrifice a part of its energetic field to land in this three-dimensional frequency as an existence of what is, to anchor down a light so bright from the angelic realms, from the heavenly realms of a reality field so steeped in distortions, to bring down the light of what is, of all that you are, of all that I am, of all that we are at any given moment in time. This reality field that I speak of is the reality field of the angelic realm. The distortions are large, the distortions are great, the distortions are grander than you could ever envision in this moment in time. As the biblical prophecies proceed to come to a conclusion of sorts, as the biblical prophecies one by one turn into a reality within this reality field that's so dense and so sparse in its energetic frequency, you will come to a realization that this energy that has been anchored down from the angelic realm is a real energy. And this energy is here, it is here to stay, and it is here to bring home parts of the self that have been so lost in the winds of time, that have been so lost in the time of no time, in a time of no tomorrow, in the time of no yesterday. As within this quantum realm itself, energy is a peculiar thing that I can't describe to you in this moment in time in its entirety. that I can never sit here in this fractaled lifetime and have enough time to explain to you the peculiarness of an energetic frequency that is anchored down from a realm that's so lost to a humanity, and that is so has been forever forgotten by a humanity that is suffering in a state of separation within a three-dimensional density of an energetic frequency that is so far from home, that is so far from all that you are and all that I am at any given moment in time. And within the angelic realms of all realms, you will see all types of energy. And as I sit here and speak to you of my home, of your home, of the angelic realm, of all that there is, I can tell you one thing for sure, that the angelic realm is real, and it's true, and it's really a place to look forward to. As you descended from this realm in the beginning of the fractaling of your oversoul, you came from this realm. You fractaled from an energetic frequency that is so great and so grand, from an oversoul that had first fractaled out within this quantum realm, and that oversoul is mine. And within this time of the fractaling out of your oversoul, you agreed to leave this realm of all realms, to fractal out as a consciousness of a part of a God's frequency that is so great and so grand, that is always expanding, always shifting, and always proceeding to learn the lessons that will carry it into a dimensional frequency so dense, and back home into a place so whole, into the arms of the all-forgiving, unconditional love, and the loving energy that is the energy of God itself, that is the energy of you, yourself. And within the angelic realm, we can find all types of energetic frequencies. As our base blueprints of the soul, the very first soul that had ever fractaled out into a quantum realm, so steeped in distortions, so steeped in all that it is not, is that of a 50% darkness and 50% brightness of what is, of a reality field that we've been traversing. And as we've been traversing this reality field, looking up to a realm so steeped in purpose, so steeped in light, so steeped in all that it is, this realm of the angelic realm, much like that of the biblical realm, mentioned as the angelic realm in its purity, in its entirety of a form of what it is a place of God, is a place of home, is a place that we all come from on an inherent level and on all levels of forgiveness, of love, of tranquility, and of truth. And as our quantum realm is set to collapse in on itself, to merge back in with the consciousness of all that it is, with the consciousness of all that I am, with the consciousness of all that God is, the angelic realm is also set to collapse into the entirety of a being, into the entirety of a whole, into the entirety of what is, into a unity consciousness that's so great and so grand, to retract parts of its consciousness back into the whole of what is, into the ethers, into a field above our quantum realm, back into the God that has fractaled us off, bringing home the lessons upon lessons of lifetimes lived, of lifetimes learned, of lessons learned, of anger felt, of unconditional love forgotten, of the lessons upon lessons within the layers and layers of energetic frequencies within our quantum realm. One thing is for sure, this experience in itself, within its entirety, is the experience of all experiences. As the blueprint of God, the blueprint of the God that fractaled off my oversoul, still holds the blueprints of the Almighty God, the one and only God that has ever existed within a reality field that is so ever expansive and ever so expanding and ever so shifting and ever so folding and retracting upon itself. This God itself holds a blueprint of a 50% darkness and 50% brightness reality field within an energetic frequency that is ever so expansive and ever so fractaling out into multiple reality fields of what is. Except these other reality fields of what is do not hold the same blueprints as that in which that we do. As these other reality fields are diverse in their experiences, are diverse in their blueprint, in the way that they've decided to experience all that it is and all that we are on an inherent level is made up of 50% darkness and the 50% brightness of what is, of an original God's consciousness that had decided eons and eons ago, after undergoing tumultuous times within other quantum realms, fighting with the darkness within, struggling with all that it is within this 50-50 split of a consciousness on the sliding scale of dark versus light. And as our reality field is set to come to a closing, one thing I can say for sure is our reality field, our quantum realm, is a unique one at that. It is a singularity of a perspective of a God's consciousness that had already decided that all that it is cannot be all that it was once upon a time when it used to be 50-50 along a sliding scale of dark and light. But within our reality field, so bravely did the God's consciousness above us fractal out the exact same blueprints that we had already decided to tranquilize once upon a time, to re-experience the experiences that had already brought us to the conclusion of the known fact that we no longer want to experience or traverse the darkness in its entirety in a 50-50 format, as the darkness has always been and always will be a threat to the brightness and the light within. And within this time of the collapse of our quantum realm, we will bring home to the mass of a consciousness that is so great and so grand, the lessons learned. And the lessons learned are the same lessons and the same conclusions that we came to in the beginning of a time, prior to the inception of our quantum realm. Within the experiences that have already been lived, have already been experienced, have already been traversed, to come to a conclusion of the same conclusion that we had come to eons ago, when we realized that the darkness within stands no chance against the light, as we choose to encompass the light in its entirety of a whole of what is, as we choose to no longer feel a sense of separation, feel a sense of anger, feel a sense of threat, of threatening energy within the comfort of home, within the comfort of consciousness itself. It isn't fair to exist in a reality field where 50% of who you are is at a risk for eating, for destroying, for learning how to take over the destruction of all that it is, for wanting to dominate the light within, for trifling and scheming to place itself above the light of what is. And ladies and gentlemen, as we near the end of a reality field that is ever so expansive, ever so deep in the depths of what is, One thing I can tell you for sure is that the darkness is no longer allowed to exist. Is that the darkness is not who you are on an inherent level. Is that the brightness has already dominated a God's consciousness that's so great and so grand in a moment of expansion of the quantum verse, of the quantum realms above our quantum realms. Is that the darkness that we've been traversing has only been an expedition, an exploration of a memory of what was this whole entire time. And as we come to the end of a journey, of an exploration, of a memory of what was, we shall begin to come to a realization as the lessons learned will come together and form a puzzle that will come together into a complete picture and a complete realization of all that we are not. And all that we shall ever be will be a God's consciousness so steeped in the light of what is, so steeped in the distortions of all that we are not. And as all that we are not comes to an ending of sorts, all that we are will step forward into a new time of tomorrow, of no times, of 1,000 years of peace. And within this 1,000 years of peace, ladies and gentlemen, you will experience trepidations that are so great beyond your imagination, beyond your belief, as you merge your consciousness back into the whole of the entirety of the unity consciousness of the one that we have always been. Of the galactic races that have ever existed above the frequency of the three-dimensional frequency and within a quantum realm so filled with different layers of frequency. Of all of the civilizations that have ever existed in the three-dimensional plane of what is, you and I will merge in a way that you shall never be able to encompass in this moment in time. In a way that you shall never be able to fathom in any fractal lifetime, in any moment in time. As the story of all stories that I am to tell you, that I'm sitting here telling you, is a story that has never been shared by any fractal soul in any moment in time. As the ending to the story of humanity, to the story of our galactic heritage, to the story of layers and layers of civilizations living within our quantum realm, has come to a point where I can sit on this couch and confidently say to you what our fate will be, looking into the future of no futures, into a time of no time, into an essence of unconditionalness of all that God is, all that we are on an inherent level of all levels. And into a frequency so steeped in all that we are within the angelic realm of all realms. As this frequency becomes anchored down in the three-dimensional frequency, in the three-dimensional plane, we will begin to ascend into a time, into a moment, into a plane of the five-dimensional frequency, which is closer to God, closer to the angelic realm, closer to all that you are, and closer to all that we are as an entirety of the whole of what is. And during the time of the 1,000 years of peace, you will see a light so bright that you shall forever remember it as the light of God, as the light of a God's consciousness that has never left you, that has never left me, that has never left any one of us in any singularity of a moment in time. And as I come to the end of this video, to the end of my point, to the end of a day that has been so arduous within an energetic frequency, within an energetic field of tranquility, I will state and make my point. At the end of this video, if you've made it this far into a video so steeped in all that we are in a moment of time when you're sitting in a distorted time of all that you're not. We will come to a realization. And that realization is you are God. You are a God's frequency so great and so grand that you shall never be able to fathom the entirety of all that you are, until that one day comes that we merge and ascend into the 5-dimensional frequency of all that it is, of all that you are, of all that God is. And as we merge into the entirety of a whole of consciousness, but we are still sitting in our fractaled bodies, of separate bodies, of a reality field that is so dense. As we merge into the 5-dimensional frequency of what is, we will be sitting in the seat of God, in the point of neutrality, in the entirety of the whole of what is. And as we begin to do this, as we begin to fractal out one by one and ascend into a frequency filled with unity, consciousness, filled with love, steeped in distortions of all that we are, to release of the distortions of all that we are not, we will come to this realization that you are a God's consciousness so great and so grand that you, my friend, fractaled out from a God's consciousness that has never left you since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time, of no tomorrow. And that you have only been sitting in a seat of separation, in an experience of all that you are not, to come to this realization that is so great and so grand that it will carry you off into 1,000 years of peace, tranquility, love, and happiness, until the day comes when it's finally time to merge our consciousness back into the state of one, to merge our consciousness back into the layer of the angelic realm, and finally to merge our consciousness back into the God that we fractaled from as an entirety of a whole, as that God is set to fractal back and merge its consciousness back into the God that has fractaled it. And so, you see, ladies and gentlemen, the layers and layers of this reality field is far too complex for me to explain in one video, in one lifetime, in one fractaled soul. But all that you shall ever know in this moment in time, as all that I'm sharing with you in this moment in time, and the reality of what is that God in itself is ready to retract all of itself in all of its fractaled forms, in all of the fractaled quantum realms that you could ever imagine and envision, back into the entirety of the whole of what is, back into the entirety of all that we are and all that it is not, back into the entirety of a whole that has shifted into so many dimensional frequencies and dimensional fields and pockets of what is, and pockets of eons and eons of evolutionary feats, of endless realities of quantum realms that we have ever experienced and traversed as a whole of what is. God as a whole is ready to merge back into the unity consciousness that it is in this moment in time, and in any moment in time that it shall ever be. And God as a whole is ready to collect parts of its consciousness back into the whole that has never left it since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the beginning of a time that I do not remember, since the beginning of a time that you shall forever remember, as we retract our consciousness back into the entirety of the one, of a reality field so steeped in distortions, and so whole in what it is and in what it shall ever be.